Tonight I'm going to give you guys a look at my independent project. Um, at the beginning of the semester, I was presented with a real-life professional problem in that our kids' health requirements weren't being met, and I think I've posted this more than once on our thing, so if you're hearing this more than for the first time, I apologize, but we had a situation where our kids needed to go through health, and we did not have enough books to get through the number of kids that needed to go through this. Long story short, we ended up putting together a plan where we could get the required number of health lessons taught to our students in 3-week cycles from now through the end of the year. The problem was how to get the material to them. I'm dealing with 2 PE teachers. I would say neither of which are like super tech savvy, so coming up with a solution here was a little bit tricky, and mind you, I had about 48 hours to figure this out. So while I appreciate the opportunity to work with Moodle and the brief opportunity to investigate SoftChalk, I did not have the time to deal with both learning a LMS and also utilizing it at the same time. So I went with something a little bit more familiar, but I was dealing again with 2 teachers who had never used it before, and we decided to use Google Classroom. And just kind of want to show you how that was all set up. First thing we did was we gained access to the online textbook, which you can see right here. Obviously chapters, lessons, titles, movies, videos, video clips, different resources with worksheets and things like that. That's not so much the important part of this project that I kind of want to illustrate, but the online platform was pretty easy to use here, pretty easy to navigate. We set up the school with 50 student accounts. Kids were given their student access and are able to get in here and access whatever they need. Did pretty much leave that part up to the teachers, and they, for the most part, kind of decided the lessons and topics and things that needed to be taught. But what I did kind of want to show you was what we kind of did a little bit on the side here. So what we're really looking at is just a shell of what we've done. We just completed our first cycle of 3 weeks. In the 7th grade health class here, you can see Dave Huntley was the teacher. I kind of listed myself here as the co-teacher. But what Mr. Huntley had decided to do was he was more of a forms person. When I went through Google Forms with him, he had decided that he thought that would be his, the best way to get through his. So just kind of looking at some of the forms that we had created here. On day 1, we had them obviously put name and then just some discussion questions that had come up in the lessons that he was working with. When I described to Dave how this material was, to come about in terms of assessing, he decided forms was best for him. He liked the option of looking at the responses individually in the form. Let's see if I can find that here real quick. Let's just go up here to day 1. Here was that form. The response side of things was what he really took to when I showed him the difference between the other ways to look at it. The summary didn't do him so much good as much as he was looking at the individual results. He could. This was obviously my test slide, but he was slid over here and had the other 25 students. So here you can see Scott's answers. But the feature that he really did appreciate was being able to view the responses in sheets. And by opening and widening these fields here, he was able to check out. Let's just continue here. He was able to look at the name of the student and the responses to the. I think he just had 4 or 5 questions here on that one. Basically, in that particular class, we were working on like I said, a 3-week time frame. So we set up 10 lessons, and each lesson looks fairly the same. But again, looked at the responses in Google Forms on the sheets. In the 8th grade class, didn't have as much time to work with this instructor, Mr. Pat Finn. Again, also PE teacher, also thrust into this position of having to meet some needs. I worked with Pat on day one, and again, we were able to set up a Google Doc. Pat was a little bit more interested in having students return an entire sheet to him. So on day one, you can see here that we set up the questions regarding, looks like nicotine and smoking. And he liked the classroom feature here. Let's see if I loaded myself in his room correctly. I should have. Let's see, I put myself in both as a teacher and student. So let's go here and down under day one. Pat's able to look at all of the student responses. So day one, I did sit next to him. We set that up. Everything seemed to have gone very well. He decided to take a little different path, which was interesting. And from then on, what he had decided to do, at least with this first cycle, was to, let's skip that one, he just put the questions right in the assignment. And then the kids would open their own Google Doc, they would respond to the questions, and attach that assignment back to him. Interesting thing that he found out was when that happened, he got a copy in his classroom, which was nice, but he also got a copy shared to him in his shared drive, which after 10 lessons became quite cumbersome. So phase 2 here with Pat and I we're going to work on either converting him over to Google Forms, or we're going to rewrite each of these lessons as Google Docs for cycle 2, which begins Monday. This is just the shell of what we hope to do. Here you can see fake day 10. I kind of showed him how that would work. Long term here, we're kind of looking at integrating more technology into this by introducing discussion forums. We did find a little bit of downtime over the 3-week period, and the teachers both came to me and said, what are some other things we can try? We're going to integrate some Google Drawings, I think, and have the kids each take a health topic from their unit and create a promotional health poster, which we can display in the gymnasiums, maybe school locker room, cafeteria, things like that. I was recently introduced to something called Glogster, I believe, and we're going to kind of take a look at that, a little more interactive piece. But getting these two teachers to be able to get across their material in the time that they did with the time that we had was really kind of a remarkable turnaround. I know for most of us that are looking at this, it seems like a very basic operation, but really a nice turnout here, and we'll hope to continue to build on this. Like I said, perhaps Moodle, Soft Chalk, and other items that I come across in these courses will eventually come into play, but again, trying to be practical here, given the time frame. The independent project that I chose to work on for these past couple weeks was Google Classroom, along with ConnectEd Teen Health.